simple steps that you're currently considering buying your first new home, but you have a few questions about how the process actually works. Well, in this video, I'm going to explain to you 10 easy and simple steps that you can follow in your buying process. Assessing your affordability. So before you actually start looking for a property, one thing that you need to have real clarity on is going to be what you'll be able to afford. So the next question might be, how do you actually determine that? Well, it's going to be real simple and easy. You can just go and Google it. All you need to do is look for an affordability calculator. I'm also going to drop a link in the description below where you'll have access to an affordability calculator from Uber. So it's real simple and easy to use. All you need to do is put in the information as the request there. That's going to be your gross income, your net income, expenses, and that's going to give you a really good indication, if you're honest, about what you'll be able to afford when it comes to applying for a home loan. So here's just a quick example of how a bond affordability calculator can work. You put in your gross monthly income, your net monthly income, and then also your total monthly expenses, and then you can play around with the years that you want to repay. This then will give you the amount that you will qualify for, as you can see here on the right hand side. And just a quick note, your repayment cannot be more than 30% of your gross monthly income and cannot exceed your net monthly income. Assessing your credit. Now, as far as your bank is concerned, you've got this little number above your head they're going to call, and they're going to name it your credit score. And this is going to give them a good indication of the type of risk you are for them. Now, your credit score indicates to your bank your past debt repayment behavior, and this will give them an indication of whether you are a good risk for them or not. As simple as that. Now, through various calculations and then also through some transactional records, the credit bureau will provide your bank with a number, a 3-digit number that will be your credit score. Now, naturally, as you can imagine, the higher your credit score, the better it's going to be. I think it's also necessary to point out that having a good and clear credit record is going to be one of the most valuable personal finance assets that one can have in today's age. Now, before you embark on the whole home buying process, it's going to be really important to make sure that you understand and know what your credit score is, because this is going to make things a whole lot easier for you going forward. Now, in order for you to do this, I'll drop a link in the description below. You can also just go and have a look at your credit score. So obviously, yes, it's going to ask you some personal information, but understand that this is information pertaining only to you. So now, in the meantime, make sure that you pay your bills on time, and then also make sure that you don't borrow more than you can actually afford. These are two things that really help you maintain a really clear and good credit record going forward. I would just love to ask you to maybe consider pausing a bit and just make yourself aware of the additional costs that are going to be part of the buying and taking ownership of a home. Because in some instances, this does come as a bit of a shock for first-time home buyers. So it's something that you need to make sure that you have budgeted for. So the additional buying costs are going to be your bond initiation fees, it's going to be your transfer duty, your bond registration costs, and then also your conveyancing fees. Once you have taken home ownership, then you also need to be aware of the additional home ownership costs. So besides the monthly bond repayments that you need to service, you also need to look at, for instance, your monthly rates and taxes. You'll be looking at the water and electricity bill as well. You'll also be looking at things like the homeowner's insurance. Might there be levies? So this will be applicable if you are living in a sectional title or even in his state. There could be levies applicable. Then also maybe some maintenance. You need to make sure maybe to budget for some maintenance on a yearly basis. And then also look at some security. These are just a few things that one might need to consider when it comes to taking home ownership of your new property. Getting home loan pre-approval. Now there are a few options that you can use here to get home loan pre-approval. The first one is you can go directly to your bank and you can ask them to help you with your pre-approval. If you're feeling really eager to do things on your own, you can also go to other different banks than your own and also apply with them for a home loan or home loan pre-approval. The easier option might also be then using a bond originator or a financing home loan specialist. Now these home loan or bond originators, examples of them will be people like UBA or Better Bond. Now, having a pre-approval letter or a pre-approval certificate in hand when you are ready to purchase a home adds really strength to your offer. Creating your home wish list. Now this is where the fun gets going. Create a list or come up with a few things that are musts that you must have, and then also a few wants that you are willing to compromise on. I think a little bit further than just the color of the kitchen or the specific floor plan. Ask yourself questions such as, do I need to be close to certain shops? Do I need to be in close proximity to certain schools? Do I want to be in close proximity to my neighbors? Do I need a lot of space? Do I need a pool? All these types of questions. Make sure you have a bit of a wish list that just ticks a few boxes of your musts and your wants. Finding a real estate agent. This is really important that you find an agent that you feel comfortable working with, given that this is going to be one of the largest financial decisions of your life. Right? All you need to do is ask family, ask friends for recommendations, interview a few real estate agents. Now, as I stated earlier, it's going to be really important. Choose an agent that you feel comfortable with. Choose an agent that communicates. Choose an agent that has your best interest at heart. And then also choose an agent that at the end of the day puts you first. Searching the listings. Now this is the fun part. This is where you take that wish list that you created earlier on and you get your real estate agent that you lined up and you start looking at some options out there. Now when you start looking at your wish list, take a few notes, because it might be that you are going to look at quite a few options before you actually start making decisions. And you can also go on and ask yourself a few questions such as, can I imagine myself living here? So go on, make note of what you do like and what you don't like. And this will help you shorten your wish list or your list that you would be viewing at the end of the day. Arrange for a viewing, or in other words, just doing your due diligence. So the due diligence process, or part of this process, all this basically means is you scheduling a formal viewing with the agent at the property that you feel like you might be interested in. Now the reason for this is just to make sure that you haven't missed any hidden problems in the prospective property. Another important factor as well is just to get a feel for the house and if this is a place that you can imagine yourself actually living in. That's kind of important, wouldn't you say? So what if you find any issues during your walkthrough? Well, simply put, you can just request from the seller to make sure that they fix these issues or problems as part of your suspensive conditions for the transaction to go ahead. Or you can also look at taking the cost of the repairs into consideration when you make an offer to purchase. Making an offer. Now once you have found your dream home, you've got your finances in place, then you're ready to put in your offer to purchase. So this is really important. This is a binding contract between the buyer and the seller that stipulates the terms and conditions for the sale of the property. Here you can expect some negotiation and also discussing of a competitive offer with your agent. So this is really important. I'm just going to quickly reiterate this. You have to remember that this is going to be a binding contract between you and the seller, and the contract cannot be changed very easily. So it's really important that you make sure, whether it's your estate agent or the attorneys that are also involved, it's going to be really important that you make sure about what you sign and that you understand the concepts that are in the contract. So if you have any questions or there's something that you don't understand, don't hesitate. Your agents, the attorneys, everyone, they are there to make sure that they have your best interest at heart and answer any questions that you might have. Getting your final home loan approval. Now, once you and the seller have come to an agreement, the next steps will be for you to go and get a home loan to fund your purchase. Now, in order for you to get a home loan, you've got, once again, got a few options. The first one is you can go directly to your bank and you can ask them for a home loan. The second option, and this is an option that could be a bit more beneficial for you, is the use of bond originators or your financial home loan comparisons services. These are people like Uber and Betterbond, just to give you a few examples. So what is the benefit of using a bond originator? Well, at the end of the day, they will take your application to all the major financial institutions out there and apply for you. The big thing here is they also really go out to make sure that they get the best terms and the best deal for you at the end of the day. As simple as that. So, like any other estate agent, bond originators also, they come with no additional cost to the buyer. The fee that they receive, that they will receive from the bank. Just taking it back to your home loan, the less of a risk the bank determines you to be, the better your interest rate will be at the end of the day. Factors that could affect your home loan and the terms that come with it are going to be, for instance, your credit score, and then also maybe the size of the deposit that you are willing to put down as well with your home loan. The closing. Once all the steps are complete, this is where you'll be on your way to the closing table at last. Now, every transaction may vary a bit, but one thing that you can prepare yourself for is a ton of paperwork that you need to sign. Don't worry, you don't need to draw anything up. You'll just need to make sure that you are there to sign. And don't you worry about anything. An attorney will be there to guide you through the entire process. Now, lodgement at the deeds office, that is going to be controlled by the transferring attorney. And that is then when registration takes place. Now, this is when the deed is transferred from the seller to the buyer. Now, this entire process, when it comes to first off the offer being accepted until the property being registered onto your name, this can usually take about 6 to 8 weeks if all is going well. Well, I really hope that you found this helpful when it comes to understanding a bit more about the buying process that one can go through when it comes to buying your new home. If you have any questions or you would like to find out more, you can reach out to me anytime. You can also go and like my Facebook page or either subscribe to my YouTube channel for weekly news updates, property info, and so much more.